is a community where one day translates to a lifelong experience. How long is immaterial, but how able to withstand the travails is the question. Some are not just that lucky to tell the story alive. For those fortunate, looking back brings sad tears and memories that depress the mind.
The Nigerian prison is a hell on earth.
Nigerian prison is very bad though, because the way they used to treat us, especially in that new prison, is very bad.
During the awaiting trial days, you had to stay with so many people, overcrowding in an overcrowding cell. You know, when you come in first, you stay at what we call the welcome cell, overcrowded too, and then you begin to see the dehumanization of man by man. I survived that terrible prison. I outlived that horrible environment. By the grace of God, when I got there, my experience, I discovered 100 different types of things. Things are not the way it's supposed to be. People are dying, hungry, and so many types of things you cannot even be able to see outside. Things you cannot even know happens there.
The story does not often begin in the same way, even if it ends up in the same place. Like a ring road, the path to prison has its many bends, intersections, link roads, and tunnels. Some drive themselves recklessly into it, others carelessly, and some victims of circumstances. There are 147 prisons in Nigeria, 81 in the north, 19 in the west, and 40 in the east. The prison system follows a 7-ladder categorization. At the top, the apex of the ladder are the maximum security prisons, supposed to be for condemned convicts, those in life jail and other top security prisons. At the bottom ladder are prison lockups located in places far away from conventional prisons. In between are the medium security prisons, ideally meant for offenders serving terms not below 2 years, the open prison for first offenders, and the Buster institutions and remand homes for young offenders. Scene 1 is known all. The bricks and the walls might have been erected differently, but behind the walls, the story is nearly the same. It is difficult to get a star prison in Nigeria. Nigeria inherited a prison system with 139 years history behind it. On paper, in official circles, the prison objectives are well professed. Prison is to curtail antisocial behavior, reform those attempting to bend the knees of society, and keep on track those lacking capacity for self-control.
Various administrations have neglected what the prison is and what is supposed to serve the community.
We believe the prisoner within Nigerian prison walls need to be occupied. That's most important, to be occupied. Right now we see them as idle minds, and we feel whatever is on their mind to influence them is idleness. There was no other thing you could hang on in Makurdi prison, and I'm very certain that the condition is still very much like that.
Many voices say this one word, that Nigerian prisons are hell. They are a living specimen of the deaded concentration camps, the playing grounds where society defiles its own humanity, the hidden place of Nigeria's shameful secret. The various sights and vague sounds seen and echoing from behind the wall are grim portrayal of sadness. People are in prison as punishment, not for punishment, to be taught hard lessons, not to learn lessons from the sins committed. And human rights here is a textbook tale. Poor environment and personal hygiene combine to make inmates governors of skin diseases. Tuberculosis is rife, respiratory tract infections rampant, while gastrointestinal diseases have become ravaging disorders tormenting inmates. If Nigerian prisoners are not deliberately starved, they are not well fed either. Though each prisoner feeds 3 times a day on 100 naira only, the daily ration assures prisoners survival, but is not an insurance against malnutrition as well as other related diseases. In quantity, quality, everything is zero option.
The entire prison was also living, by the time I got there, living on kunu. Okay, sometimes the kunu with water in the morning, kunu as amala, what we call amala dance out, in the afternoon. Okay, sometimes kunu as amala in the evening.
That female prison, they used to give us this in the morning, then in the afternoon, back. And it's not the soup is not too much good enough for us. We just manage anything we see there.
So to survive in the prison takes an external aid from somewhere.
Those who are down pray not to fall here, because to fall ill is to become a prey to chance. For good medical care is a strange word in Nigerian prisons. Only a short pole separates illness and death here. Recovery a matter for individual effort or through public benevolence.
We have to buy our own drug, or if lucky, do get assistance from well-meaning organizations and individuals.
It is familiar to see poor prison medical care than to hear of prisoners' tender care. To 37 prisons in 1995, there were only 3 ambulances, a situation curtailing swift response to emergency situations by officials. Most prisons are without medical doctors, while painkillers and tranquilizers have become the ready-made counter drugs for most illness. Nigerian prisons have become unlisted graveyards, where hundreds have died without any in the movement. This was what studies have been reporting.
In 1989, about 2,000 prisoners died due to the outbreak of scabies. An average of 7 deaths are recorded in Kirikiri Prison weekly. This translates to an average of 300 deaths a year. In 1997, over 50 inmates of Kirikiri died within 3 months. Within 7 months in 1996, 31 prisoners died of various diseases in 8 prisons. Enugu recorded 16 deaths. 4 died in Abakaliki as a result of tuberculosis. Musediq Prison recorded 6 deaths, 6 in Umuahia Prison, 3 in Ogoja, 1 each in Obudu and Takuyi prisons.
Somehow, it looks as if the Nigerian society delights in making manure of the precious gift of nature, which human life is. Nigeria has become a nation beyond shock.
And I walked into this particular prison. This prison is located in Lagos, precisely a medium security prison. And I saw 2 dead bodies being pushed, carried, not on a stretcher, it was like on a kind of piece of cloth. And the 2 dead bodies were prisoners, dead bodies of prisoners, and the head of one was torn in such a way that the other one's leg would be where the other one's head was. And they had 2 prisoners who were carrying those people. And I looked at their faces and I asked myself, how will these people feel taking these dead bodies out of the cell? Because it's probably their friends, and it would be, and I asked myself, how would I feel if I was to carry my friend this way?
There is no casting back to remold the future, as overcrowding, usually fingered as the culprit for the hundreds of prison deaths, remains stubborn. Nigerian prisons always overflow. There are always more human traffic than the number of available prison space. Behind this grim environment is a cosmetic story. A story of how rules are being broken. It is usual for a cell meant for one occupant to contain as many as 15 inmates. It is normal to have together 150 citizens in a block reserved for 20 to 30 prisoners. Necessity becomes the justification for the act. Constraint, the answer to rationalize the non-compliance with internationally prescribed minimum rules for prisoners.
There is no church, there is no mosque, there is no playing ground in Makurdi prison. It's just a very small place, congested. The only right that will be denied you is the right to freedom of movement and the right to freedom of liberty. Because you cannot move outside the prison freely, and you cannot have your liberty to go away. But all other rights should be equal.
Like the CGP had said sometime, it will take about 80 million for the prison department to effectively implement the standard minimum rules. So we are waiting on the federal government.
Every prisoner by the standard rules ought to be entitled to a livable stay with added benefit of privacy, ventilation, adequate lighting, and protection from extreme weather conditions, heat and cold. The dignity of the human person should be protected.
But nowhere the mark are Nigerian prisons. Left and right, Nigerian prisoners march through physical and psychological torture.
Firstly, there are some consequences which one expects from any victim of incarceration. Things like anxiety, things like what is called foreboding. Foreboding is a type of anxiety in which you expect doom, you expect something terrible to happen. There is this expectation of tragedy, and you can't just put your hand on it. It's a special form of anxiety called foreboding. So the incarcerated is anxious, is tense, his sleep is poor because he's not sure what's going to happen. Of course, from time to time, he will have lapses of hopefulness.
General Musa's mission where there was allegedly killed in prison. So, the condition then, as a result of that, the psychological problem I had when I started having doctors was more intense than when I didn't have them on account of that information. You see? So I started being very, very exceedingly careful. That is a lot of suspicion. Sometimes they will give me some drugs and I won't take the drugs.
This guy, I can still remember his name, Sunday was his name, very little boy. He tried to escape. There were three of them. One carried one on the shoulder, he carried another one on the shoulder, and then the first one left, the second one left. He was going when there was an alarm, and he was arrested. My God, it's a grueling experience.
The second was actually at Agbo prison, and this was about a year ago. I had walked into this prison, and we had done the usual assessment and visits. And I was almost going, and I noticed a woman who I saw sitting very quietly, and I just thought she was just moody. I tried to talk to her, and I tried to ask her to come up, and I found out she could not work during the situation, and it came out that actually she's been so tortured by the police, and they had inserted broken bottles through her vagina, and it was so difficult for her to work. And one thing that came out very clearly, some of the times when you see these people, they've been so traumatized and they could not open their mouth. You don't just walk away.
So almost all the whole places I stay, Agodi, Ilesha, Kriko here, there is a series of, but the worst one is Ilesha, where we have a riot in 1983, about over two of Shagari, and there we rioted, and we were beaten up. There, if you watch very well, you see, I still carry the mark, losing about 50 by boot.
When society is ashamed of itself, it covers up by closing all windows for people to see, to know, to say, and to reveal what goes on behind the wall. but there will always be an occasional opportunity. This was one. It was a day in February in the year 2000. Outside, the day was normal, promising nothing unusual. Inside this prison, however, it was not so. Expectation was high among the prison staff and the inmates. Everyone always looked forward to this periodic event, jail delivery. An occasion when a judge would visit the prison to summarily determine the cases of awaiting trial process. The jail delivery system has almost become a better replacement for the slow, torturous trial of accused persons. Everything is said. Lawyers are not needed. Police, the accusing state agent, do not participate. The procedure is simple and straightforward. Officials of Ministry of Justice list the cases, and the accused will state the case.
My name is Latif Olamide. I'm 14 years old. I and some friends were arrested over a missing colleague. Others have been released, leaving the two of us because our parents are poor.
I'm a bricklayer accused of robbery, my lord. I'm not a robber. It was my friend that was arrested. He brought the police to me to confirm that he's not a robber. The two of us were taken away by the police. I was shot in the leg.
I am a farmer, not a robber. It was land dispute that brought me here. I refused to sell my father's land. That was why I was killed.
Now, please tell me what happened.
Our case is a frame up, sir. It was intra-union dispute before we were set up on a trumped-up charge of murder. We were garage touts. We did not murder anybody.
To every case, the judge displayed the wisdom of Socrates, listening cautiously. Every suspect, Aramusha, walked unaccompanied into the prison. Now he needs a walking stick for the rest of his life. 2 years on remand awaiting trial has robbed him of his sight. Jimo Akindele has developed psychiatric problems. Let him go, the prison officials plead on his behalf. Young Yabo Adela came with her baby and another child. She has since ceased to be a mother. Her child died in prison here. She too has become depressed. Grandmother Elizabeth, old and feeble, stood shorty for her nephew who jumped bail. She and her Kwashiorkor reading granddaughter have since been guests at the prison.
How long does it take the police, for example, to carry a suspect who becomes an accused later to a court of law?
If they say police is to blame, I think that's a myopic statement. The police is only 1/3 of the system. That is the criminal justice system.
The police know they don't have the criminals. So it's comfortable for them to say, look, you go and get detained. And once you are settled with detention, you are ready to dance to that tune. And that's how we end up receiving more awaiting trial than the convicted prisoners.
Awaiting trial are people who have been charged to court, the accused persons, but not yet convicted. The police or the prisons have to bring it to court every day. There's an adjournment. Sometimes the Black Maria is not available. Even if it's available, sometimes there's no diesel.
In life, that human being is suffering in jail.
Back to the unfolding drama. Each case goes through an unstated 4-point results scale. The judge listens cautiously. He probes wisely. and then considers soberly before he decides humanely.
Matthew 31 tó sọ fún wa pé Olúwa fẹ́ràn wa tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ó fi ọmọ kan tuntun nínú rẹ̀ fún wa tí ó lè rí ìyẹ̀ àti àìsíkẹ̀ tó lè rí nítorí wọ́n tó pa ìlú kí ní èrò ẹ̀yìn ìjọba padà.
You are released. Go home. Godwin, you and your wife go and parent your child. The Liberty Bell tolled for 35 denied, deprived, and depressed souls. Long detention such as chorus of joy went to air. Shouts of gratitude and grace. Those released were excited, those unlucky in despair. Some summed up courage not to let the opportunities. This young man sings that one of their co-accused has been released, held him as a ransom in desperation. They insisted that they either gain freedom or remain united in God.
Àwọn bàbá tá níjọ wà ní agbójá kan tó wà ní àdìgbò wọn ní ká máa bá wọn ṣe ìgbìyànjú ìkàbíru wọn máa dáhùn pé ká tó lọ ṣọ́ọ̀bù ká tó jí láàárọ̀ ká tó tún bá wọn ṣe ìgbìyànjú mọ́jú pé bàtà ṣe fẹ́ gbé àwọn bàbá ń sàkọ́ pé rọ ìgbà tó sábà kan mú wà ní ipa ìgbà tó máa kó wa sí iwájú ká ní ìsinmi ní alẹ́ ẹjọ́ yẹn kí n bá àwọn ọlọ́pàá. Ìjọ karùn-ún oṣù tẹwàá ọdún 1998 àwọn ẹlẹ́rìí mélòó ló máa ń lè kọ́kọ́ wà ní ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ nípa tó lé àwọn akọ́lùmẹ́rù ìṣàdúwà bàbá.
Exoneration is shed-blood hypocrisy of injustice and state. Whatever the benefits of this sort of judicial change, it certainly is a poor substitute for an efficient penal system which demands a prompt and speedy trial of an accused. Justice prolonged is injustice perpetuated. Nigerian judicial process does not speak the grammar of quick dispensation of justice. Cases oftentimes outlive suspects. The innocent unduly punished, while the guilty is cruelly inhumanly persecuted. Nigerian criminal justice system is one big pendulum swinging between hypocrisy and shame.
I don't expect petty feeling like somebody says a goat or chicken. This should be pushed to community, the area, if it's in the village or something, push it to community health, let them thrash it and let the person pay the compensation. The shame of it and blame around that side is enough to keep this person upright. But some of them are with us. I waiting trial to stay for 7 years because of chicken and goat.
And from an ordinary offense of wandering, the young man who could not settle the police by giving them some bribe, he was actually rounded up to some others, up to 10 of them, with 8 paying the ransom price. The remaining 2 could not pay the ransom price. Before you know what is happening, are detained at the police station. From there they are drafted to the magistrate court the next day. And because the magistrate said, of course the offense will turn from wandering to armed robbery. The magistrate says, I have no jurisdiction. They are to be detained. Awaiting trial.
I was represented by a military lawyer. The person I never knew him from Adam.
It was the tribunal that decided to give me that lawyer, who was very much afraid of the tribunal, because you see, the people sitting there are threatening them before my own turn that, look, you could go to jail for defending an accused before this court.
Some Nigerians are no longer content with watching this dirty side of civilization continuing undisturbed. Voices are being raised.
It is high time the Prison Act and regulation in Nigeria is reviewed and made consistent with international standards. Thank you and God bless you.
How many are waiting trials, sir?
Action being undertaken, but human rights is not a limited franchise, applicable to some sections of the community only. That everyone, including offenders, deserve just, fair, and humane treatment. Top among such organizations in the forefront of the campaign in Nigeria is the Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action, PRAWA. PRAWA is determined to make a change in the penal system of Nigeria, a top work which its executive director, Uju Agomoh, says is being addressed in varied ways.
Basically, some of our programs have looked at the issues about training. We've constantly looked at training as a means of capacity building, recognizing the fact that it will enable us to have impact on the behavior and attitude of these prison officers. We have the component of rehabilitation, which directly benefits the prisoners or the ex-prisoners or the torture victims. We also have programs that are directed on public education, because the society is important. The community involvement is a very, very important aspect of our work, and that also includes things like, we also concentrate on things like policy advocacy. Our rehabilitation package is a very holistic package. It deals with issues about health needs, psychological needs, social needs, and also economic needs. The first thing we do is to do a need assessment of the beneficiary or the prisoner or the ex-prisoner or the torture victim to find out basically what this person needs. We have interventions such as the issue of training them in life planning skills, in good work behavior, in vocational and skill training programs, in alternative to violence programs, and also providing counseling, family therapy, psychotherapy for them, in addition to facilitating the establishing their own businesses, in no matter even if it's a very small scale business. On behalf of PRAWA, we have family link program, which is basically emphasizing the provision of communication and writing materials and facilitating communication between prisoners and their families, and this is operating in a lot of prisons in the western part of the country. We have training programs and the establishment of prison link training units in all the prison staff training colleges in the country, and that includes the Prison Staff Training College, Kaduna, the Prison Staff Training School, Kaduna, the Prison Staff Training School, Kiriti, Lagos, and the Prison Staff Training School, Enugu, and also the Prison Staff Training School in Owerri.
We've trained about 1,600 prisoners, but again, I ask now, have we really made any much impact?
However, the more that is done, the more that will still have to be done. Nigeria has become a crime endemic country. The crime graph throttles on higher and higher. On average, 250,000 crimes are committed every year, many of them being the violent type. Also, on average, every year, 24,000 ex-convicts find their way back to prison to become crime veterans. Everywhere, it is a catch-22 situation. The head, you lose. The tail, you lose. In prison, life is hell. Outside prison, in the larger society, life is a nightmare. Everyone is therefore echoing the one word: action. The prison staff are calling for action.
There should be a free hand financially to the prison service. Any money allocated to it should go straight to it. And people should watch out to see if it is not going to be judiciously used.
Ex-prisoners are pleading for action.
So I'm begging
that they should please help them, because going to prison is not an easy something. So I am proposing that government should look into that, seriously into that, make it a cardinal point of the rehabilitation package for the ex-convicts. Give them work to do.
Human rights activists are imploring action.
We must find a way of reintegrating people who have served their prison, so that they do not get shunned, so that they are not looked upon with odium and opprobrium. They are not looked upon like dregs of the society.
Penal reform advocates are highlighting action.
Prisoners who do not die in prison will come out someday to face you and I in the society. It is our duty to ensure that their experiences in prison and their treatment whilst in prison and when they come out are not such that will turn them worse off, and will make them worse off and make them hit back at us. It is our desire, and should really be our desire, to ensure that we invest in their safety, invest in their treatment, not only for their sake, for the sake of you and I.
Ọlọ́pọ̀ ló ti kú tí wọ́n ti sílẹ̀ bóra. Owó ló wá lálùbẹ̀ o, ló fi tẹ̀ ńlá jáde sí. Ògo ìyìn ọlá ló wà mí sájà.